Today we are going to study about the female reproductive system. The female reproductive system consists of the primary sex organs, and the secondary sex organs. The ovaries are considered as the primary sex organs. A pair of ovaries are present. Ovaries, they manufacture gametes and they also secrete the female sex hormones, that is the estrogen and the progesterone. Now let us see the secondary sex organs. They are the fallopian tubes, the uterus, vagina, the external genitalia, and the mammary gland. Today we are going to study about only the primary sex organ, that is the ovary. The secondary sex organs like the fallopian tube, the uterus, vagina, external genitalia and the mammary glands we will take in the next class. So let us talk about the ovaries. There are a pair of ovaries, almond-shaped ovaries, which is placed in the abdominal cavity in the pelvic region, in the lower pelvic region. The difference between the testes and the ovaries is that testes is extra-abdominal, placed outside the body cavity, that is outside the abdomen, but ovaries are placed inside the abdominal cavity. The testes are placed in the scrotum. Each ovary is about 1 to 3 centimeter in length. It is 1 to 3 centimeter in length. 1 to 1.5 centimeter in width, that is it is wide, and 1 centimeter in thickness. It weighs nearly 7 to 8 grams. Each ovary is placed in the pelvic region of the body cavity, just behind the kidney. It is near the uterus and it is attached to the body wall, that is the dorsal body wall, with the mesodermal layer called as mesoovarium. Now let us see the internal structure of the ovary. Now if we see the TS of an ovary, we find that it is composed of dense connective tissue. This whole dense connective tissue called as the stroma. This is known as stroma. Now stroma is differentiated into the outer or the peripheral cortex and the inner, the central part, the inner medulla. So the outer side is known as cortex. The peripheral side is known as cortex and the centralmost part is known as medulla. This is known as medulla. The cortex is lined by a dense layer of connective tissue known as tunica albuginea. This is known as tunica albuginea. Tunica albuginea. In the cortex region of the stroma, there are several primary oocytes. There are many primary oocytes which are surrounded by follicular cells. These are the follicular cells which gives nutrition to the oocytes. So there are nearly 60 to 80,000 primary oocytes present, and these oocytes, they develop in the embryonic condition only, during the fetal condition. After the birth, there is no formation of primary follicles. All these follicles, the primary follicles, they develop during the embryonic condition only. These primary follicles, they remain immature till the attainment of puberty. After puberty, they become mature. They turn into secondary follicles. These are the secondary follicles. These are, see, a second layer of follicle is formed, which is known as secondary oocyte. They again mature. These secondary oocytes, they mature into tertiary oocytes. They mature into tertiary oocyte. The tertiary oocyte matures and attains a shape, a permanent shape, with the help of the graphene follicles. A mature follicle is known as graphene follicle after the discoverer Sir D. Graff. Now let us see the structure of a mature graphene follicle. These are the layers of the follicles. The oocyte is present. Now a liquid filled space is made. A liquid filled space is made here, which is known as antrum. This is known as antrum. And the liquid inside the antrum is known as folliculi liquor, because this liquid is made by the graphene follicles, by the mature follicles and the oocyte. The mature oocyte forms a thick layer of glycoprotein. This whole layer of glycoprotein, which is known as zona pellucida. This is known as zona pellucida. Pellucida. The mature oocyte. The maturing oocyte is now connected to the walls of the follicles with the help of a cluster of cells. These are the cluster of cells which forms like a stalk-like structure. If we take it from here, cluster of cells, which is known as cumulus oophorus. These cluster of cells, this is known as cumulus oophorus. This cluster of cells now divides the maturing oocyte from the antrum, separates the maturing oocyte from the antrum, the cavity filled antrum. A mature graphene follicle has got two layers, an external layer known as theca externa and an internal layer known as theca interna. This internal layer, that is the theca interna, it secretes estrogen. In the middle of the ovarian cycle, the graphene follicles, they rupture, and the graphene follicles, they are rupturing, and the secondary oocyte is released. The secondary oocyte is released from the ovary. This is termed as ovulation. The release of the secondary oocyte from the ovary is termed as ovulation. The secondary oocyte which is released during the ovulation is not the ovum. It is actually the secondary oocyte. Now let us see the structure of the human ovum. A human ovum is oval in shape. It has got a centrally placed nucleus. This is the nucleus. The ovum is non-motile. Human ovum is non-motile. A dense cytoplasm is there. This is cytoplasm. A mammalian ovum, that is the cytoplasm of the mammalian ovum, is without any reserve food, that is without any yolk. Therefore, it is known as alecythal. Alecythal type of ovum. Each ovum, that is the secondary oocyte, is surrounded by a thick layer. This is the thick layer which is non-cellular. This thick layer is non-cellular, made up of glycoprotein. This is known as zona pellucida. So this is zona pellucida. Zona pellucida is secreted by the oocyte itself. So this whole layer is zona pellucida. Now the space in between, there is a space in between. This is the plasma membrane. This is the plasma membrane of the oocyte. Space between the zona pellucida and the plasma membrane, there is a space which is known as perivitelline space. This is known as perivitelline space. Now attached to the zona pellucida are radially arranged cells which are radially elongated. They are known as, this is known as corona radiata. This is known as corona radiata. You see the radially arranged elongated cells attached to the zona pellucida. This radially arranged cells, the corona radiata, attaches itself to the ovum till fertilization takes place. After fertilization, it disappears. But the zona pellucida persists after fertilization till the blastocyst stage, that is after cleavage, attaining the 8 cells condition or 16 cell condition. The zona pellucida persists till then. So in this class, we have studied about the internal structure of the ovary. We have also seen the structure of a mature graphene follicle, which is important in the examination point of view for the intermediate students. We have seen the structure of the graphene follicle, and we have also seen the structure of the ovum.